Good evening and welcome. Tonight is Monday, August 12th, 2019. It is 7:00 p.m. This is the regular city council meeting for the city of St. Peter. We will call the meeting to order. Would all please join in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Or changes to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor of the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next, we have the minutes from our July 22nd, 2019 meeting. Those minutes appear on pages 5 and 6. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Make
So
a motion
moved.
to approve.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Next, we will address visitors. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any agenda item? Seeing no one, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any matter whatsoever? I know we have one scheduled, but is there anyone else here that would like to speak? If not, we will move into the Ms. Carlin, if you could come up and maybe take a seat in the middle here. You know, it's kind of like a hazing, kind of like a roast deal. And if you would be so kind. And we're going to tag team. Mr. Kwame is going to say a few words, and then we will go from there.
Oh, you want me to start?
You go ahead.
I do this occasionally. This is more difficult than most. I've been on the council for 28 years. There have been plenty of council members who have come and gone in that time, but this is the first time that on this occasion I've felt like crying. Susie, you've done a good job on the council. How's that for faint praise? Good job.
Thanks, John.
Like most of us, you read and studied the material, you prepared for meetings, you spoke up with your opinions, and your opinions were always well-grounded and well-expressed. But there were three things that set you apart from most other members that I've served with over the years. The first is your previous job, having to appear before public bodies, make testimony, public bodies that were not always very sympathetic to your position. And so you came into this environment well-versed in the give and take of a council meeting and the political process, and so you were contributing right from the very beginning. The second is your gift for empathizing with those who disagree with you, putting them at ease and convincing them that you understand their position and respect them and respect their position even when you are disagreeing with it. I know others that try and use this approach, but you are very, very good at it because you are authentically that way. Your approach is very different from the confrontational politics that we all know and hate. That's more common these days. The third is that you have, I'm not sure how, you have somehow connected with more people in this community who belong to more small groups and subgroups that most of us don't even know exist. You've been able to bring their concerns to the table that otherwise would not have been heard. I have no idea how you could know this many people and be in regular contact with them and all these different people and all these different groups. I am in awe of it. Over the nearly 30 years that I've been on the council, my family has formed personal relationships with maybe 3, 4 council members. You, Joel, Simon, and Penelope, one of those families. It just doesn't ever happen. My children, including my grandchildren sitting out there, are in mourning over having to adjust to your leaving. So we say goodbye. We thank you for what you've done for the community, and you should know as you leave that you are leaving an unusually shaped hole in our lives. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
The Susie, I asked John last Monday if he would say a few words, because I said, I said to him, I said, you seem like a brother to to Susie. I mean, that's kind of the way I felt between the two of you, and I mean that in a good way. So anyway, you'll have a chance here in just a second. But, on behalf of the city, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything else in your life, and maybe we'll hopefully see you again soon.
We definitely will.
All right. Right, buddy?
Well, let me open this up so everyone else can see. Here. There's batteries. Let's start.
Always use batteries.
We go all out, so we provide the batteries and everything.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Yeah.
There goes the budget.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the floor is yours, Susie, if you'd like to say it.
Well, it feels like the past few weeks have been nothing but goodbyes. Every day, I feel like I'm saying goodbye to people in this community. I've only lived here for about 12 years, and yet it feels like home in so many very, very important ways. And you're right, John. I feel like I've been so fortunate to get to meet so many different members of our community in so many different areas of our lives. And it has deeply benefited my life and that of my children, who are here with me right now. My time spent living in St. Peter has been deeply and meaningfully shaped by my opportunity to serve on the City Council in St. Peter. My life would have been entirely different, and I know I'm speaking about myself right now, but I just have to say that it has been just the most beneficial experience of living in St. Peter, to have the opportunity to serve this community and to serve with this council, who has always been a wonderful body of colleagues. So I am very sad to be leaving all of you. I am very confident that there are so many ways to stay in touch in our modern technological lives. And we will be coming back through St. Peter at some point. And so I hope to see all of you again and maybe work together again someday. It's hard to say what the future will hold. But thank you for all of your kindness, for your collegiality, and for the hard work that we've done together every week for the past almost decade. I'm going to miss you a whole lot.
Thanks again, Susie, for all your service, and you will be missed. And like I say, I guess I'm quite a bit older than you are, so I know that your adventures, you never know where they're going to lead you, but I'm sure they will all be positive.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone, for coming. You can stick around for the rest of the meeting if you'd like. Merritt, come on. Yeah. All right.
All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to carry this out very gently.
All right. Bye, Penelope.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right. Next, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins in detail on page 7 and concludes with the resolution on pages 31 and 32, and includes the following budgeted purchases in excess of $10,000 to Summit Supply for six-foot portable benches for $11,773.56. To Midway Ford for a 2019 F-250 4x4 for $32,236.92. We have the following license applications: a temporary on-sale liquor. There are 3 of them through the Church of St. Peter for 1801 West Broadway for October 13th, 2019. To the Redmond Club at 412 South 3rd for 8/16, 2019. To the St. Peter Chamber of Commerce for 101 South Front Street for 8/20/2019. We have a transient merchant license to Fabian Seafood at 624 South Minnesota from 8/13/2019 to 1/22/2020. We have a temporary gambling and a temporary soft drink license to the Church of St. Peter for 1801 West Broadway for October 13th, 2019. The following employee appointments: to Michaela Clipperton for part-time circulation clerk at $11.26 per hour, and to Marion Dieterman for the same position at $11.26 per hour. The following council liaison and commission appointments are hereby requested to be approved. To the Library Board, Mr. Paris has agreed to do that. To the Parks and Recs Board, Mr. Paris is already serving. Mr. Johnson has agreed to take over Ms. Carlin's position. River Valley Transit Board, Mr. Grams is already serving. I will be taking Ms. Carlin's position, and Mr. Kwame has agreed to be an alternate. Plus the following schedule of disbursements for July 18th, 2019 through August 7th, 2019. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Ed?
Todd, on the truck that we're buying between Midway Ford and Loggers, and I know there's sizable price difference, so, but what happens on the warranty work? Do we have to take it all the way up there, or?
We'll be able to take it to Ford in Mankato as well, as long as it's a Ford dealership. Could be in Le Sueur as well, but as long as it's a Ford dealership, the warranty would be taken care of.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking on that.
Yep.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Now, any more questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Zeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Kwame?
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. Next, we have unfinished business, which there is none, so we will move to new business. And first up, we have the final acceptance of the North 3rd Street Improvement Project. Pete?
Mayor Zeman and City Council, this is the 2018 project that we started early last year. We worked with Hoffman Concrete out of Mankato. They were very flexible in doing a variety of different projects for us along this two-block stretch that we completed. We did have a little warranty work that was needed to be corrected this year. They have come back and corrected that for us. So what we're asking you tonight is to accept the improvement and an authorized final payment. As I noted in the memo here, the project was about $5,600 over estimated cost, and that is because we added some additional concrete apron. Most of that was accessible, and so you'll see that roll come through later. I'm asking for approval and of the resolution on page 36.
Questions? It looks nice. Did a nice job.
If I could,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, Pete might not want me to say this, but I do want to say this. As compared to last year, and the project that was very similar last year, this year's went much more smoothly. And so some of the concerns that you had and some of the plan that Pete unrolled to improve performance there and make sure that the timeline was much shorter worked out very well for us. So thanks for that, Pete.
It could not have taken longer than last summer, so it must have gone faster this year.
Much better.
Was that all, was it at all weather, or was it just we changed our processes and procedures and?
I don't know the answer to all weather, but there were procedures and processes that were changed to help improve that and smooth that along, and additional planning on Pete's team's part to make sure that it worked well. I'd also think Pete will maybe echo this too. The contractor that we had additional flexibility this year, and so that helped to move things along quite a little bit as well.
Anyone else? The resolution accepting the 2018 North 3rd Street Improvement Project as complete appears on page 36. Is there a motion for approval?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Any more questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Mayor Zeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Kwame?
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Pete.
You bet.
Next up, we have a Green Steps Program authorization. And Russ and Kay, or just Kay, or just Kay? All right, Kay. You want to introduce yourself, since you're probably new to some of the people watching? So.
Okay. So my name is Kayode Adiatu. I'm from Nigeria. I'm a master's student at the Minnesota State University in urban planning. So we have a new project, which is the Green Step project. So this is a voluntary program or a free assistance program to all Minnesota cities with a view to meeting sustainable development goals in Minnesota. And this program has been accepted by so many cities in Minnesota, and it would be a very good thing for the city of St. Peter to also get on board on this project. So we have 29 best practices that we have that has to be implemented, and then we have 5 different categories. I mean, like area of operation where we need to achieve these 29 best practices. We have the building and lighting, we have transportation, we have land use, we have economic and community development, and of course environmental management. So one may ask, what are the benefits of getting on board on this project? Basically, it would afford the city to spend the same amount of money in a smarter way. It would also provide a sustainable and like an improvement pathway for the city to go green, meaning we now become more sustainable in our operations and become resilient. And it would also decrease the carbon footprint of the city, because now we'll be looking into saving energy. The cost of energy would reduce because the city has, in the past years been, into saving energy by using LEDs, going into solar and stuff like that. So we have other benefits like being in the LMC Green Step Cities, the League of Minnesota cities. It is. On this note, I would ask that this program be authorized. Thank you.
Kay, if I can, let's go through just quick what the 5 steps are. And
Okay,
so
yeah,
the first
yep,
step is really something that we're doing tonight,
Right
which
now,
is
yes. So this is what we're doing to get a resolution for this project, and that is why we are here. And the milestone, this is just basically demonstrating local commitment through actions, and this will be achieved by documenting what the city has achieved so far in the past years, and then we see how to go from there. The third one is achievement. This is like meeting the statewide sustainability action standards by implementing 3 best practices, 8, 12, and 16, and completing a handful of them. And then the fourth one is quantification. We want to measure and report what we've been doing in the past years, and then we document this as well, and we go one step further again. And then the step 5 is the improvement. We want to keep improving. We want to keep progressing. We want to keep maintaining sustainable development goals in every area in terms of building, lighting, land use, environmental management, and what have you. And then we, as part of this initiative, the city council asked, we want to ask the city to embrace this project. We want, because it will be good for the city. It will be, in several ways beneficiary for the city of St. Peter.
Kay, as you mentioned, is a master's intern at Minnesota State Mankato.
Yep.
And so, as the council's discussed, and Kay has been with you to visit at a previous workshop, he's really starting the process for us and providing the documentation to meet those 29 standards within those 5 categories. And so you've done a lot of work, the city's done a lot of work. As he mentioned, it's LED lighting and solar and the land use things that we've adopted. and the things that protect the river and development of stormwater detention basins, and there's just so many things that you have done. Kay's job for us as a part of his internship is to start to document those and check those off. In the future, when Kay has moved on through his master's program, we'll have other students that will come and provide some of the follow-up, the additional quantification, the additional reporting. And so from an organizational structure standpoint, that's how we're hoping to approach this. And I think you'll have great success. And I would anticipate, and Steve was at the League of Cities meeting last year, or this summer, when their award presented. I would anticipate that you'd be maybe at step 2 or 3 already by next summer, because you've done so many things in this arena already. This is really going to be nuts and bolts and documenting that part of it. That's really what we're going for today.
Yep.
And that's going to be Kay's job for us for the next few months.
All right. Anyone else have any questions for Kay? Steve?
Do you know who in the state had initially established this program for cities to be certified as green cities?
When they started,
No, what agency or what agency in the state established this program that set the criteria?
well, in back in 2007, when the LMC and the green step cities, they don't really have a body back then. When they met, a decision was made at that time to allow cities to come together, like set a standard that each city can follow. Just so, and like I said, it's a voluntary, it's like a voluntary challenge that, okay, if we set this standard and we allow city to come on board on this program, then they can, try to meet this standard, and cities can be environmentally conscious and be resilient. Yeah, so it was back in 2007.
But it was basically by the league, was it not?
The League
Yeah,
and Minnesota
yeah, the
Pollution
League
Control got
Control,
together as the genesis for this program.
Yeah.
So do you think it's harder for a municipality that lives, that has its location on a body of water, is it more difficult for them to be certified because they are so close to a body of water? So they have that provision that they have to meet.
Well, if you're close to a water body, and let's assume we have water pollution, for example, if you as a city who, it's situated in the riverine area, if you've achieved 70-75%, if you have 70 to 75 achievement in remediation process, I mean the cleaning up process, on whatever pollution that you have, it could be water, it could be land, it could be air, you just have to document that. So I don't think it's that difficult. I just think as a city, you keep working, relentlessly to make sure you have a clean environment. And then when you have the Green Step Cities program that affords you to get certified, to put you on the map, like this is what St. Peter, for example, has been able to achieve in the past year.
Steve, if I could provide a little bit of an addition to that answer, I don't know that it's more difficult. In St. Peter's case, much of the heavy lifting has been done already through the MS4 program.
Right.
And so we tended and have tended to look at the MS4 program as a program where there's requirements by the state of Minnesota, where if we do not comply, bad things happen. This is a little bit of a flip side of the coin, where when you do comply and provide initiative moving forward, that you're recognized for that initiative. And so from my perspective, that's how I'd look at the Green Steps program. It provides, in some instances, accolades for the good work that you've been doing in that area.
Okay. All right, thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else? The resolution authorizing participation in the Green Step Cities program appears on page 40. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Gorman?
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Zimmerman?
Aye. Resolution is approved. Thank you, Kay.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
all your efforts.
Yeah.
Next up, we have a Rivers Edge Hospital equipment purchase and lease. And Lori is here.
Lori is here.
Lori is here. Lori, if you would, for those, I know we see you once in a while, for those watching, would you state what your position is at the
Sure.
hospital?
My name is Lori Zook, and I am the Chief Financial Officer at Rivers Edge.
Thank you.
We, at this point, would like to lease a new 3D mammography machine. Our current mammography machine is approximately 10 years old and can only do 2D mammographies. Because of the changes in technology and because of the age of the machine, we can no longer upgrade our machine to do so. We looked at 3 different machines when we were looking at this purchase, and we selected the Hologenic Selenia 3D mammography. With all 3 of those, we looked at both a lease and a purchase option. The vehicle that we've chosen is to lease through a group that we belong to as a joint venture called CMDI, standing for Central Minnesota Diagnostic Imaging. They are a consortium of small hospitals that get together and provide a financing vehicle for large imaging purchases such as 3D, CAT scan, MRI. The way the lease works for that particular body is they install the machine, we pay them per exam with a minimum exam number set of 50, it's in the memo, 59 exams a month. At the end of every quarter, we get an equity return based on how the joint venture did. That is estimated, and between the equity return, the amount that we bill, we estimate that the machine will cost us $13,183 a year. So this is after we bill, after the equity return. We would enter into a 5-year lease. 7 years does not seem, number one, it was not financially viable. Number two, the technology changes too quickly. 7 years is not really prudent for this type of machine.
Okay. I think, Lori, when I attended the hospital commission meeting, we're looking at this as and along with the hospital itself, as a community service type of venture.
That's correct. This will not particularly make us money. This is a community service. There are a number of women who want to stay in the community and have these things done. The 3D mammo is is a much better option for those who have dense breasts or other problems that can't be properly diagnosed with a 2D. So not everyone in the community will have a 3D mammography. This machine can switch between the two and offer the 2D or the 3D depending on what the doctor orders. But no, this is not a moneymaker for the hospital. This is something that we want to do to keep these services in the community.
Okay. Any other questions? Steve?
Lori, are most doctors recommending the 3D version rather than the 2D?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The key words for a 3D mammo versus a 2D mammo would be dense tissue.
Okay.
So a 2D just would not be specific enough for them to work with.
Good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? In our resolution, Lori, you said 13,000. I think our resolution says 20. Is that the comparable number, Todd? Do you know?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be the comparable number.
Right.
That number has been used as a generalized number.
Yep.
Lori's giving you a much more exact number. It's not our intent to tell the council that it will be exactly
No.
13,000 and some odd or exactly 20, but that's the order of magnitude.
I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Not the resolution. You have to bear with me here on some of these words. The resolution approving execution of lease for the Hologenic Selenia, whatever it is, 3D mammography machine for Rivers Edge Hospital and Clinic appears on page 43. Is there a motion for approval?
Move the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
Just one last one. Again, the Hospital Commission, Finance Committee, and Commission has recommended this approval.
All right. Call the roll, please, Bert. Sorry.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Zeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn?
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have another item for Lori to present to us. Right?
This one took a lot of discussion. As you all know, we have the construction project going on at the hospital. We have identified some alternates that, if there's adequate contingency, that we would like to complete. We are at the stage now where we are not quite done with construction. Our contingency level is sitting right at 3%, which is where we would like it. But there are items in the alternates that need to be decided now in order to make them viable for the time period that we would have to install them. One of these is snow melt equipment for the entrance for the hospital. The infrastructure is there for the snow melt area, so all of the piping has been run under the cement, all those kinds of things. What we're asking for now is the snow melt equipment. With the winters that we've had and actually just Minnesota in general, we would like to move ahead and actually get the snow melt equipment. When we were considering the financing for this, we did look at taking this out of contingency. That dropped our contingency fund for the rest of the project down to 1.2%, which is not where we wanted it to be. Our capital budget for the hospital for calendar year 2019 was $750,000. We have $450,000 of that amount left. The snow melt equipment is $70,000 and change. What we have done is, or what we are requesting is that we will guarantee that with capital funds from the hospital and purchase now, so that we can install it when everyone is here and can make sure that it works. If contingency is available and it's approved at that point, we would use contingency funds, but basically we're backing it with our capital operating funds.
Along with that, then, because of what's left now, I don't think right now you're anticipating any major capital purchases that would generate the rest of or use up the rest of that capital in there?
No, the reason we're hesitant to drop the contingency at this point is because we've entered a lot of the remodeling phase of the project, and there's a couple of big items that are big walls and big things that we still have to open up, so we're not really comfortable dropping it below, the contingency below. That doesn't mean that we're anticipating anything, it just means anytime you renovate, you always have more of a problem than when you build new.
But I was talking more about the capital account, the 2019.
Oh, yeah, no, I think the biggest thing coming through between now and the end of the year will be a request for beds so that we can match take out some of the old beds and match. And that's about another $70,000. We're not anticipating anything large. No roofing, no anything like that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions, more questions for Lori? Steve?
I don't have a question. I just want to commend the commission and the hospital administration for really looking at this. I've worked in an environment where a ramp was not have a heating system, and one that did. And I can tell you what a difference it makes for a person on wheels. So I really commend the hospital for going forward with this. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, this has been approved by the hospital commission also. Any other questions? The resolution approving purchase and installation of remaining components of the snow melt system at Rivers Edge Hospital entryway appears on page 45. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Any more questions? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Grant.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Tony.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next up, we have a city assistance request for Rock Band. Todd?
Mayor, members, this is for Rock Bend Folk Festival, which will occur September 7th and 8th. They're looking for utilization of the park and the brand-new pavilion. A little bit before that, and a little bit after that for setup and for cleanup afterwards. This is very similar to what you've seen for request for use and your assistance in the past. The only significant change here is that Public Works, Pete's crew would be putting up the stage. As you know, we have a temporary stage or mobile stage that's been ordered to use with the pavilion for the events, and that's something that we've envisioned that the city staff would set up and make go. And so we anticipate that to be in place. We expect cost for all the services that we provide and street and all kinds of things that happen to be around $8,000. As you know, they have to provide the appropriate number of restrooms, the appropriate insurance, all of those kind of things. In my visit with John Gainey, who's really the president of that committee, he continues to offer an invitation for any of you to come down, and if you want to introduce a group or stop by and say hello, they'd be happy to host that. We do have one other thing that we're going to try and do is recognize one of the folks that was a champion for you at the state legislature and getting a couple $1,000 in Bob Gunther, so we anticipate that happening on a Saturday afternoon between 1 and 3 o'clock. Mayor members, the information is included in your packet with a resolution that's appropriate and again is substantially similar to what you've seen in the past. That resolution's on page 51.
Questions?
Everything on schedule as far as,
The bands? As far as the bands?
As far
I'm sure
as the
they're on
stage
schedule.
with the
No,
bands.
I'm concerned about the pavilion.
Jerry, don't lose sleep about it. It's going to be just fine.
Okay.
Yeah. The team down there has worked very well. Pete and Joey have watched and been participated within the group. Everything looks good to go. Now, maybe there will be a bush that isn't planted or something like that, but as far as the pavilion and able to see utilization, temporary or portable stage being in place, all that should be in place with no problem.
Thank you.
Any others? The resolution authorizing city assistance for Rock Bend Folk Festivals appears on pages 51 and 52. Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Honey.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have a tax increment financing for Washington Terrace and Traverse Green and Sally. What can you tell us, Sally?
What can I tell you? Mayor Zeman and council member, we're here tonight to ask for a public hearing to be held on September 23rd to modify the District 15 Washington Terrace TIF. Currently, in February 1st of 2020, the debt will be paid on that tax increment financing. Right now, currently, we are capturing about $154,000 of tax increments to pay the debt, and as I said, that debt will be paid. Because both Washington Terrace and Traverse Green projects are for housing, the state lets us use money from one to help fund the other, and right now, we are in a shortfall or debt repayment on the Traverse Green TIF. So what we are proposing is that we modify TIF 15 to apply those funds to pay for the debt on Traverse Green until Traverse Green takes off. So basically what we're asking for tonight is a public hearing on Monday, September 23rd at 7 o'clock to modify TIF District 15 to help pay for the 2016 debt payment on Traverse Green.
Okay. I know at our goal-setting session, yourself and Shannon Sweeney from Drown and Associates were there and explained this to us and did a nice job there. So,
Yep.
do you have any-
No, sir.
Any other any questions? Steve?
I have two, Sally. Do you know, can you give us an estimate of how much we're short at the Travis Green housing development?
Right now, we're getting approximately $20,000 a year, right now.
And what
But
do
that's just the first couple years with the
right.
houses.
What do we need to pay?
140.
Okay. Now, how many more years can we continue diverting the Washington Terrace tax increment plan?
2031.
Okay.
So we've got a few years to get there,
Okay,
if
thank you.
need be.
All right, thanks.
So if I may, though, in response to that, just based on the terminology that was used, this will not be a change to any taxes
No.
in Washington Terrace or in Traverse Green. This does not increase any levy. This just keeps the resources that were being held from that tax increment district and uses them to assist in the Traverse Green tax increment district. So there's no additional burden or additional taxes, nothing like that. But we are required to have a hearing under the state law, and again, that's what the basis for the resolution.
Well, we should be, I think, appreciative that the Washington Terrace one is done so well. So,
Got a quick question.
yep.
So if we don't do this, what happens to the $154,000?
It would go back onto tax rolls and we collect taxes in that, so it would come back in.
So to be very clear, that $154,000 would be spread amongst four
Four.
taxing jurisdictions. It'll be spread amongst the city based on the tax rate that you have, which is approximately 50.27%. It would be, portion of it would go to the county, which is like 54 or 56%. It would go to the school district, which is, forgive me for not remembering that number, and there'd be a small amount that would go to Region 9. And so those, they would receive their share of the property taxes, where now you take that
Take it.
and use that for the debt service.
Good question, Noel. Any other questions? Not the resolution calling for a public hearing on the modification of tax increment for the two developments appears on page 54. Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Cormier.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Next up, we have business license applications. Todd?
So Mayor and members, as you may recall, the general rule is that new applications or new applicants are required to come before you as separate actions. Renewed come on your consent agenda. Although the Freedom Station, as many people know it, has been around for a long time, it will have new ownership. And so that ownership needs to apply and it needs to come before you. And this is for soft drink, tobacco, and 3-2 off-sale beer licenses. We found nothing that would prohibit them from having any of those licenses. The resolution to approve them is on page 56.
Questions?
Will there be a name change? And
I do not know the answer to that, Jerry. My guess is no. This is the ownership group. Freedom hasn't owned it for years and years and years. It's had a different name for many years as well.
Anyone else? The resolution approving the new business license applications appears on page 56. Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any more questions? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Cormier.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye. Resolution is approved. Next up, we have the Nicollet County All-Hazard Mitigation Plan. And Todd again.
Mayor and members, the first development of this plan in cooperation with all the local units of government, all the cities in the township, occurred in 2010. And so this is an update of that plan. To be eligible for FEMA funding in mitigation dollars, not emergency dollars, but in mitigation dollars, we have to have a mitigation plan in place. And so at that time, it was determined that a cooperative effort would make a lot more sense, since counties end up being the host oftentimes for FEMA and some of the activities there, so we have participated with them in the past. As I mentioned in my memo, the all-hazard mitigation plan is over 320 pages, so we didn't include the whole thing, but we did include a tear sheet, one sheet of it or two sheets of it, that relate to some mitigation, potential mitigation activities within the city of St. Peter if funding might be received. And so those are areas where we would pursue funding, not for emergency response, but for mitigation. If you don't participate and there are mitigation dollars available, if you don't approve a plan, well, you won't be eligible for those mitigation dollars. And so there's been a process that we've worked through with the county, and Pete has sat in on that, and I have, and a number of other folks, including your police chief and others, to provide information for the overall plan. Just to be clear, that 300 plus pages isn't all about St. Peter. It's, again, the entire county participating. The recommendation from staff is that you approve the mitigation plan and participate by passing a resolution that you see on page 61 and 62. This signifies your agreement and participation and puts you in good stead should dollars become available.
Questions? Steve?
Todd, can you help myself, or people and myself, where the Granlund Dam is located?
Oh, that's a great question. And so that is one of the projects that is listed on the mitigation plan. Maybe today we might call it the Christensen Dam, but this is a dam that was built in the 1960s after the 1965 flood, I believe. And it's located in an area probably about 500 yards west-northwest of the new high school. Maybe it's a little bit further than that because Community Spirit Park is pretty big. Maybe it's 2,000 yards, but it is west of Township Road 361 and south of Traverse Road, or what the county might call County Road 51.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? The resolution adopting the Nicollet County All Hazards Mitigation Plan appears on page 61 and 62. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Zeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Plum?
Aye.
Resolution is approved. That concludes our new business. Next up, we have reports. The only thing I have is, based on number of cars and people, it looked like the county fair was quite successful over the last few days. Ed and I talked earlier, and he said it was amazing how many people show up at the demolition derby. Other than that, Todd, I have nothing else to add.
Mayor, members, I have 3 items that are on the list and one additional one that I'd like to mention. First of all, the Night to Unite summer celebration. The summer celebration was Monday night, and Night to Unite in 4 block parties was held on the following Tuesday, so just last week. We had very positive participation in all 5 of those events, and so we felt really good about it. This is the first time that we've had neighborhood block parties as a part of Night to Unite, and so it was experiment. And Ed, I was at 1, but you, I think, hit probably all 4.
All 4.
So, and there was food.
They all
and-
had good food.
Yeah, so there you go. Can't lose there, and people at all of them.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
The
so
fire-
that's-
Fire department was there, the ambulance was there, and the police department was there. We let the kids crawl around in the fire trucks and the ambulances, and I think everybody had a fun time, including the guys and gals that helped out.
Yeah, fun event for sure. So the committee will start talking again about how did this go and what's up for next year. Maybe there'll be more neighborhoods included. There'll be some discussion about how that works. I still believe that we'll see a summer celebration event and then a Night to Unite on a different evening. I think that's probably the direction that we'll continue to go. But we'll see what the committee brings forward. And there's a lot of hard work and planning and effort that goes into this. So anyway, thanks for all the people that participated, all the volunteers, all the organizations that were involved down at the park and at the block parties. Also want to mention candidate filing period for the city of St. Peter closes tomorrow, so Tuesday the 13th at 5 o'clock. So as you know, in St. Peter, there are a few criteria that you have to meet, certainly be eligible to vote within our community. And you got to have $5 and you can come down and see Barb and file for election. As you know, we have a policy related to how we announce filing for election, so if you want to keep track on a day-by-day basis, that certainly comes out on Facebook. If there's a change that day, if there's an addition that day, posting is made by Barbara on Facebook about who filed and the other people that have filed. If there's no change, then a posting does not go out. It's also on the website. Yeah, so you can kind of keep track of that as you move forward. Second to the last item I'd like to visit about is just the report from the July 29th goal session. That report is included in your packet, Mayor members. I won't go through it blow by blow unless you'd like to talk about something or have other thoughts about this. This is not meant to be minutes. It is really meant to be, I go through all the agenda items that we cover and even the ones that we don't, and I say, well, if we covered it, here's a little bit of a flavor for the discussion that was held and maybe some direction. And if we didn't talk about it, usually I list in there, well, we didn't get to that one. And so we'll try and cover that at a future meeting. So that information is included on 63, 64, and 65 of your packets. So if you have questions about that, I'd certainly be open to that. The last one that I have, Mr. Mayor, is just to mention that today we found out that we do have census folks that are in town. And so they might knock on your door, and they should have well, this isn't a copy of it, but appropriate identification to be able to show that they are folks from U.S. Census. And so, as the council knows, one of the efforts that we will have going forward is that we will have a complete count committee that will be forming here at the end of this month, maybe the beginning of September. Our target timeline has been that time frame to make sure that we get out the count. We want to make sure, because as you know, lots of funding, both at the federal and state level, and programming is based on population. So we want to make sure that we're counting everyone just right. And so that committee will be out there to help educate folks within our community about the value of census and how they can be counted appropriately. And so watch for that and make sure that you, if somebody knocks on your door, that you should ask for them for the identification.
They are not asking census questions, they're verifying addresses only.
Thank you, Barb. Verifying addresses only, not asking census questions at this point. All right. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for
All
you
right.
for this evening.
Anyone else? Anything to add? John? Oh, saw you leaning forward. Sorry, I thought you had something. If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Sorry, I should have told you that.
I got a 40 Magnum, that's not very good.